talk about a couple of things. So even though we are going to read the speech, we are still looking at this as an argument, but we are still rhetorically analyzing things. Like, I'm going to ruin you for life because anything you read, you'll always look at like purpose behind things, right? So we are still keeping in mind like our argument prompt from yesterday, but going into this, let's look at what are things that you marked down in the prompt?
1775.
Okay. Why is that important? Like, what's happening or what has happened or what has not happened? Do what? Okay, so it's like prior to the Declaration of Independence. And what? Okay. Organized movement towards revolution existed across the colonies. So there were no organized revolution, but there were little uprisings throughout. What are ways that the colonists up to this point shown their what had shown their interest in not being happy, not interest, but dissatisfaction, there you go, with like how Great Britain had been treating them. So Boston Tea Party. What else? Okay.
Wait, Boston Massacre was
That-
British shooting.
Yeah, that was the British shooting us, right? Like that was against
The
us.
only thing we did against the British was throw a snowball.
Okay, but I mean, like there were other uprisings. Did y'all study Bacon's Rebellion? Do what? Yep. So we like the tax problems that we didn't like the taxes. We had boycotts.
We tarred and feathered some of those.
I mean, we have shown that like no organized movement, meaning that but not everybody is on board, right? On March 23rd, 1775, Patrick Henry addressed the delegates of what the purpose of the Virginia Convention was.
A form of government.
I mean, yeah, it's like our form of government at that time. And should we seek peace with Great Britain still? Analyzes the rhetorical choices. So we're going to look at our task. Henry makes to convey his purpose of convincing the delegates to secede from Britain. What does secede mean? Yep. So because we see that, is he in the majority or the minority? The minority. If he's having to convince them, they are not already convinced, which means he is in the minority, right? Go through, we're looking at how is he convincing them that it is now time to do this. But the other thing kind of in the back of our head that we're going to think and keep in our head are our words timeless. That's from yesterday, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of front load us evidence so that when we get to this, we can talk about how we use history as evidence within our arguments. Okay, so though we are reading this, I have to scoot forward. Though we're reading this as an argument, there are still going to be pieces, like we're still looking at like claims and evidence and all that. But also this is pre-20th century, so we struggle a little bit with pre-20th century. So what I'm going to do with you today is I'm going to go through and like talk you through it so that tomorrow you can do this with a partner, right? Talk through it. All right. Mr. President, no man thinks more highly than I do of the paid gentlemen who have just addressed the House. Who's this president? Not of the House.
Of the Virginia Convention.
Yeah, there we go. So this is the president of the convention.
Wasn't it Washington?
I don't know. Good question.
Is Virginia? Like, Virginia?
I don't know if I jumped that far. Patriotism as well as abilities of the very worthy gentleman of like the speech, right? Like give me liberty or give. And being in the minority, he has to reason. Do what?
Losing track
Okay, so trade with Europe. What else? Protection, support, right? Fear of being like, of the war coming to them, which is kind of already there. But so these are the things that he has to get through. He can't just say, idiots, let's go. Like, come on. Like, he has to reason them through all of than I do of the patriotism as well as the abilities of the very worthy gentlemen who have just addressed this house. What is he showing? No. He's not brown-nosing.
Flattery.
But why? I mean, flattery to me comes across as being like not sincere.
Showing that he values their.
Yeah, so it's a sign of respect. And what did the gentleman before them speak about? What can we assume?
Not really.
Yeah, not, yeah. So we can assume that they like spoke about like not seceding, right? Because he has a different opinion. We already know that. But different men often see the same subject in different lights. So the same subject is like, yeah. So the subject of the matter is like, should we secede? That's what we're all talking about here. They see it as no, I see it as yes. And therefore, I hope that it will not be thought disrespectful to those gentlemen if, entertaining as I do, opinions of a character very opposite to theirs. So what has he said that he thinks?
He thinks the opposite in a big.
So I don't wish this to be disrespectful. I don't want to be seen as being someone who is not loyal. However, I have a very different opinion than what they had. So it's almost, it's not like a malicious warning, but it's a warning of like, just, I need you to hear me out,
It's
right?
What people do these days before they have to post on Twitter.
What do you mean? Like they apologize before they start?
I'm saying my opinion, don't kill me.
Yeah.
And then they get killed anyway.
Sometimes. Or Elon Musk just deletes their account.
Damn.
If, entertaining as I do, opinions of a character very opposite to theirs, I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. So, those that spoke before him spoke freely. What does it mean without reserve?
He's not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, he's not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to be like embarrassed to say something. Those before him like spoke up, so he can too. This is no time for ceremony. Okay, so let's look at this word in context. What does ceremony in this instance mean?
Slowing things down and trying to be like superficial about everything.
Yeah, ceremony here is like formalities, where I would address every single concern of every person. Like, we don't have the time for this. We have to move forward. This is no time for ceremony. The question before the House is one of awful moment to this country. Again, we already know what that question is, right? It's the subject that we talked about above. Notice in all these I have footnotes down below. It won't be all the things that need to be defined, but I have our footnotes down below for the things that I thought might give us a little trouble. For my own part, I consider it as nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery. The question truly is not even like, should we secede? The question is, do we want our physical freedom or do we want to be physically enslaved? That's the question. And in proportion to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of the debate. Because this is so important, we should be allowed to argue. Now, when we talked yesterday about the quote from Adam Grant, what did he believe? He's still alive. What does Adam Grant believe about argument? The goal is to do what?
Make the other person reconsider.
So make them rethink. Does that rethinking could it eventually lead to a change in opinion? Yes. So as Patrick Henry goes through this, he has to get them to rethink their reasons for why they are not seceding at this point or do not want to secede. It is only in this way that we can hope to arrive at the truth. So here is this idea of like hope. And fulfill the great responsibility that we hold to God and our country. Who comes first? And then our country is second.
Yep, that sounds pretty conservative to me.
Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear of giving offense? What does he mean? Turn to your partner. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear of giving offense? What does he mean? Turn to your partner. Turn to your partner.
He's saying he doesn't care about it. Because should I keep back my opinions?
Like this should be a mantra on my wall.
My grades don't care about your opinion.
Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear of giving an offense?
I should consider myself guilty.
What is he saying?
I don't care.
He knows what? I know I'm going to offend you. But I can't keep back the truth, right? Everybody else has had the opportunity to say their truth. I cannot keep back this truth. I know I'm going to offend you. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear of giving offense, I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country. What does treason mean?
He's a traitor. He's sold the country out to the Russians.
No. Should I consider myself as guilty of treason toward my country and of an act of disloyalty towards the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all kings? What did he do there?
He God.
He what? Showed the priorities, but look at that play on words. The majesty of heaven. Why is that a play on words?
Because it's
He wants to leave the king.
Because what?
He wants to leave like the monarchy. And so he's using that.
But the majesty, so why is majesty important in this?
Saying that
King George.
his heavenly king is better than his like earthly king.
Okay, so why majesty?
Because it's beautiful.
Oh, your king.
That's what you call your king. So majesty, when we, like, it's equal to the king, right? So his majesty is God. So again, it is God first, and then King George is even below that. If I hold back my opinions, I consider that an act of treason towards my country, but also disloyalty to God, who is way more important than a king in another country. Now, is anybody there going to argue that King George should be revered above God? They're not going to argue that, right? But they are fearful of King George. Mr. President, it is natural for man to indulge in the illusions of hope. What is an illusion? Illusion.
We created it. It's written by an author.
What is an illusion? It's what? Okay, so it's something that we think we see. So we think there is something there. But it's not. Like, think of like a mirage, right? Like it's an illusion. It is natural for man to indulge. What does it mean to indulge in something?
So, like, participate in it.
And what does indulging in stuff do for you? Like, it comforts. When you indulge in something, like, it creates the sense of comfort. So, it is natural for man to indulge in the illusion of hope. Here we go again. We see that. What is that in an argument? Mr. President, it is natural for men to indulge in the illusion of hope.
That's a concession.
That is a concession. I get it. I get the idea that we just want to continue to hope that things will get better. We are apt. What does apt mean?
Do it very easily.
Yeah, there's a tendency. We are apt to shut our truth. What is the painful truth that they are shutting their eyes to? It's that it's never going to get better, right? That, like, being ruled by Great Britain won't get better. We have a tendency to shut our eyes to the painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Look down below, JW. In Greece, men to wreck their boats on coastal rocks. In the Odyssey, freshman year, y'all read Odyssey, or a version of it. In the Odyssey, an epic by Greek poet Homer, Circe, an enchantress, transforms Odysseus' men into swine after they arrive at her island home. Henry's Illusion combines these two stories. So this is like Greek mythology illusion. Illusion is a reference to a specific biblical illusion, like Greek mythology illusion, and a historical illusion. So when we talk about illusions, they are just specific events or things, right? So just like we would a metaphor where we have to figure out, okay, the pieces and parts of a metaphor, this illusion is making a comparison. So who is the siren in this instance?
The British government.
Yeah, I mean Great Britain and the King. And what song do they continue to sing, to quote unquote sing to us?
You're an independent colony. You can do what you want.
Right, like, you're fine. You're independent. We're here to support. Till she transforms us into beasts. So why would we become beasts?
Because we pay taxes and we vote.
So that just like the swine, right, we are controlled by something else. Mr. President, it is natural for man to indulge in the illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to that song of the siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? What does arduous mean?
It's hard. Taxing is
Yeah.
difficult. I don't know if I use taxing.
So, is this the part of wise men, the wise men that spoke before me, engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? is this what wise men do? Is know that we are being lulled into this death, into our death, and to see it and just ignore it. Is this what wise men do? That is a rhetorical question, but it is not a rhetorical question to figure out, to let them think. Because the purpose of a rhetorical question is to what?
Hint at an idea.
Hint at an, like, to get them to agree to an implied answer that has already been created, right? Are we disposed to be of the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not, the things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? So, what do we see not? What are we not seeing? Are we part of those people? Are we going to continue to be those people who do not see what? Okay, that do not see the actions of Great Britain, the control that is taken. Having ears, hear not. What are we not hearing?
The complaints of their fellow citizens.
Okay. What are we hearing from Great Britain?
Pay taxes.
I mean, we hear that.
No voting. Pay taxes.
We hear them telling us you're fine, and we know that it's not true. So having eyes, hear not. Having eyes, see not. Temporal means like worldly, not heavenly. Salvation means like deliverance from harm. So I'm not talking about that we will be saved in heaven. I am talking about our physical freedom right now. Are we disposed to be of the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not, things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst of it, and to provide for it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. What does a lamp provide? What does a lamp provide? Light. And that light predicts the future. It shows the path. Everybody is like, that's logical. I know of no way of judging of the future but by the past. So to figure out like what will happen in the future, we have to look at like what has happened. What has Great Britain done in the past? So far everybody's like, yep, okay, that makes sense. And judging by the past, I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the last 10 years to justify those hopes with which gentlemen have been pleased to solace themselves and the house. So again, we're going back up to these wise men, the wise men who have spoken before us. So, another rhetorical question. The only way I'm judging what's going to happen in the future with Great Britain is what they've already done to us. Everybody agree on that? Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So what is it that you very smart people who have spoken before me that said we do not need to secede, what is it that you know or that you have seen over the last 10 years that the rest of us have not? Because you are the ones that continue to tell us it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, just keep waiting. So what is it, thank you, what is it that you know that we don't know? Is it that insidious smile with which our petition has been lately received? Notice insidious means sly or sneaky. That's that smirk, right? An insidious smile is like this devilish smirk. Notice the petition down below. The First Continental Congress had recently protested against new tax laws. King George III had withdrawn the laws conditionally. This is good for him, right? So he can say, oh, look, you said you didn't like it. I took them away, but the colonists were unwilling to accept the conditions. I would have taken them away had you agreed to this. Look at me. I'm giving in. You're not. Right? Is it that insidious smile with which our petition has been lately received? Is that what's giving you hope? So what is he really asking? Should they what?
Should they trust the ballot?
Yeah. Like, why are we trusting? Like, why are we trusting the king when he has done nothing? In response to our request. Trust it not, sir. What is the it? What's the closest noun?
The petition or the insidious smile.
The insidious smile. Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare to your feet. What is a snare? A what? No,
It's a trap.
it's a trap.
There's so many songs.
Trust it. No. Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare to your feet. Like it will trip you up, right? Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Anybody?
I'm good.
Yes, and? Judas and who? Okay. So, how did Judas betray Jesus with a kiss? Nope, stop. JW, you're done for the day. What?
When the guards said it was Jesus, Judas said, the man who I kissed is him, and then he kissed Jesus, and Jesus said,
Okay. So, who is Judas in this scenario? The king. And who has been betrayed? The colonists. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception, what does it mean to be gracious? Kind, appreciative, right? Like, ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition. So when we petitioned him to remove these taxes, he said, oh, absolutely, I'm going to listen to you. How does that gracious reception comport with, agree with, equal these warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our land? He very happily took our petition and said, absolutely, let's talk about this. I'll get back to you. And then how did he get back to us?
A boat.
Ships and military, right? So does the smile and acceptance from George, King George, equal the ships and military? Are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled? What does it mean to be reconciled?
Our differences.
Okay. Are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. So again, we're going back to suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. These are implements. What are the these? Yep, fleets and armies. These are implements of war and subjugation. So notice how he's paralleled these ideas, but they are contrasting to each other. These are implements of war and subjugation, the last arguments to which kings resort. What are the last arguments that kings resort to? War. All right. So, moving forward, tomorrow you will be expected to read and annotate for summary of each line, just as I did here. That's what you will be doing tomorrow. In class.